Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits, and today is Sunday, September 10th, 2017. This is episode 290. As you can see, Callie is not with me today. She's not feeling the best, but I have a different co-host who decided to come join us. This is Ernest, if you're a new viewer. He's our Yorkie, and we also have another dog who stays pretty much downstairs. He can't do the stairs down. Neither can Ernest anymore, but Ernest knows how to open up the baby gate we have at the bottom of the stairs. And no matter what we do, he figures out how to get it open with his face and come upstairs. But he doesn't do the stairs down anymore because he's taken a couple of tumbles because we have steep wood stairs. So anyway, way to start off the show with a ramble. Yeah, so Callie's not feeling the best. She said to record without her. So we're going to move forward. So hopefully today will be a little bit of a shorter show since it'll just be me rambling at you. But I do have a lot to show you and some new things and some new cast-ons and some finished objects. You might see one next to me. Some exciting news to talk about. So there'll still be good content to today's show. So, quick recap of my last 2 weeks. Not a whole lot. I've been doing a lot of dyeing and prepping for the next couple of weeks as we have a couple of shows. Still not where we want to be, but is what it is. Andy's downstairs getting ready to start dyeing for the day. Been doing a lot of that. Went to knit day a couple times. Got some work done there. And I did my first day of substitute teaching. So this past Wednesday I had scheduled for about 2 weeks. I knew it was coming up. A former English teacher, or former colleague of mine who's in the English department at the high school where I used to teach at, asked me to sub for her, and she's got all seniors, so it was a pretty easy day, and they were working on stuff on their MacBooks, and it was picture day, so I had to take them down to take pictures for the first 15-20 minutes. I was a bit nervous going back, not going to lie, especially the day I had it beforehand. I was just worried about how the reaction was going to be to the staff and students on my return, but it was a pretty good, warm reaction from the staff, most of the students as well. I had a few students that I'd had in the past that tried to, be fools, but, I just told them, I said, I'm not going to put up with it, and I don't have you every day to care to modify that behavior, if that makes sense. Like, especially when you see them every day, you want to make sure that you modify the behavior and you teach them proper behavior. And I'm like, I'm not going to see you again tomorrow. So just behave today because I'm not going to put up with it. And let's just get through today. That's all. So in that respect, it was a lot more relaxing and less stressful. It was all right. We'll see when I go back. We're going to be gone about the next week or so in Texas. So be a week or 2 to 3 weeks maybe, before I go back to subbing at all. So we'll see. There actually hasn't been a whole lot of jobs posted. I'm only wanting to sub at the school where I used to teach at, and only for specific departments. So it's been the beginning of the school year, so teachers aren't taking their sick days, and they're trying to be in their classrooms as much as possible, which I understand. So it doesn't bother me that there's not so many subbing opportunities. Anyway, that's pretty much been my past 2 weeks. I've taken Corndog to the vet a couple of times. Cornelius, again, our Cairn Terrier downstairs. We took him in for shots and stuff, and he had an ear infection. I might have mentioned this last time. So he got some ointment and a shot, and we had to take him back and to look at it, and they were like, okay. And we gave him an allergy shot as well, because he suffers from allergies at the end of summer. He did last year. And so I had to take him back a third time this week, and they're like, okay, keep up the ointment for another week and you're good. So that's good. So anyway, let's get to the show, shall we? Ernest is laying in the sun and gonna probably zonk out here in a few minutes. All right, so let's talk about what I finished. So the first thing you'll see next to me, this is The Girl from the Grocery Store by Joji Locatelli. And I knit this using Hedgehog Fibers sock in the Juniper, that's the speckled colorway here, and Spell, which is the purple. And I'm really happy with them. I was really worried about the Spell color, this vibrant, dark, saturated purple bleeding in the water. I did soak it, and there was some bleed off, but it did not affect the speckling at all. So, and it was a lot less than I was expecting there to be bleed off. So, good job on Hedgehog. I haven't used a whole lot of their yarn. I've only ever used it once before, and it was a very lightly speckled yarn in my Find Your Fades. So, this was new to me as well. And this was knit on a size 7 US, which is a 4.5 millimeter needle. So, I enjoyed it. It was super simple, and it was really good for like knit night. That's really where I worked on it the most, was when I would go to knit night at my local yarn store, which is where I picked up the yarn, which is Les Moutons Rouge Knittery in Bloomington, Illinois. And she carries all 91 colors of Hedgehog when she's in stock. So sometimes things, do go out of stock and she's got to order. And she carries Hedgehog stock and a small array of Hedgehog DK. So I'm kind of spoiled in that respect. The second thing I finished was a hat called Plumable, and it is by Rachel P. And this was knit out of Cascade 220 Heathers in the red wine heather colorway. And it's a pretty simple beanie with this lace panel set in reverse stockinette. There's, of course, fuzz on it. Why wouldn't there be? Anyway, and this was knit on a size 6 and 8 US, which is a 4.0 and 5.0 millimeter needle. So I really liked the shape of this. This is going to be donated to Operation Chemo Comfort, which I did post information on our Ravelry board, Dramatic Knits video podcast. And I do think I forgot to put this in my show notes for some reason. I went through my show notes like 3 times to edit them. But so I'm going to mention it here. Operation Chemo Comfort, their fall hat drive is starting. Their official date, I believe, is September 15th. We're starting now. Because I want you to collect as many of the hats that you've knit or will knit and donate. So the drive for us is going to go until November 15th. So that's when the thread will close. There is a thread already up in our Ravelry group, and you can post a separate picture for each hat that you are going to donate to Operation Chemo Comfort. Operation Chemo Comfort is based out of Wisconsin, in the Froedtert Cancer Center, and it is organized by a variety of workers to the Froedtert Cancer Center that have come together to kind of do these packages with a hat and some goodies and things for patients that are part of their center. So Kelsey, who is my contact person with the organization, we get to see her at a variety of events up in the Chicagoland area, and she's such a sweetheart. So I teamed up with her last year to kind of raise awareness and raise some hats for her drive, and I think we raised over 150 hats last year. They have raised over, I want to say, 4,600 hats or headscarves in the past 18 months since they've started the organization. So that's really, really awesome. I'm so pleased with that. So I want to do better than we did last year. I want to do more than 150 hats donated because of Dramatic Knits. So you can post a picture of a hat that you are going to donate. It does not need to be knit between the time. It could be something you already have laying around the house that you want to donate, something you previously knit, or something that you're working on, or you can cast on something. We know hats go super quick. So I have a handful of hats I'm already going to donate, and I plan on knitting a few more before the drive is over. So, and then when it's over, I'll just start for next year. So each hat that you're going to donate, you're going to post a separate picture in a separate post. That'll get you an entry into our prizes. I am going to up the ante like I did last year. We're going to start off with one prize, and then every 25 hats after that, we're going to add an additional prize. Last year, I believe we gave away 7 prizes. I want to give away even more this year. So please give me that opportunity to give away even more prizes. So we're going to do that by donating over 150 hats. There's all the information is in the thread on the address of where you can send them to. You can send them as you go, or if you want to just collect it and wait until early November to send them, that'd be fine. Any fiber content, any size, any color, does not need to be machine washable, and they give you all the information in there. I would recommend maybe putting each hat in its own Ziploc bag with a note to the new recipient and maybe care instructions. I know that I do that, and I put a little card in. There's also a downloadable form for a tag that you can use if you're interested in printing off several tags to include with your hats. Now, they're not going to donate these hats until starting the beginning of December, but I am putting the hard and fast deadline of November 15th to get your hats posted and mailed out so that they are in the hands of the organization by the time that they want to start donating and collecting all the hats. So if you have any questions, you can direct private message me, Dramatic Knits on Ravelry, and I will see what I can do about answering that question for you. So that was my second finished object, and those are my only two. So, and like this hat is not machine washable. The Cascade 220 non-superwash cannot be washed. So this will have a little note that says please hand wash if needed. All right, so let's move on to what's performing this week. What am I working on? What am I not working on is the question. All right, the first thing for me is the Starting Point Mystery Knit Along by Joji Locatelli. It is no longer a mystery. It has not been a mystery for a while, but slow but steady wins the race, right? So I'm working on the second half, and I worked on this a little last night. And this is all being knit out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Show Stealer, which is our NCN base. And the gray is London Fog. The green is Double Your Pleasure. The speckle is a custom speckled colorway, which I may be recreating here in the future. The black is Darkest Hour, and the gold is Smoky Quartz. So, again, really enjoying it. It's just finding the time to work on it. I think it's just such a large project that other things come to fruition, and then I just want to work on those. So this is being knit on a size 6 US, which is a 4mm needle as well. All right, after that, I'm also working on A Day to Remember, which is another shawl by Joji Locatelli. This one's going to take a while as well, because it's knit out of lace weight, and the rows just get exceptionally longer. Sorry if you hear any background noise from downstairs. So this is being knit out of Madeline Tosh Prairie in the Cove colorway, and it's knit on a size 6 US 4mm needle as well. So it's a long crescent-shaped shawl with garter stitch with eyelets coming from opposite ends. As you can see there, it's kind of where I'm at here, but again, the rows are getting significantly longer. So, you know, it takes 10-15 minutes to get across a row sometimes, and then, you know, I get 4 rows done in an hour podcast. I'm like, oh, great. And then, especially because it's lace weight and garter, you're not adding a whole lot of depth to the shawl with each row. I did not work on my Fortune Teller hat at all. I worked on Plumable instead. Fortune Teller will be worked on probably while we're vending next weekend, as well as a few other things. What I will show you, though, is I've been working on actual flat swatches of yarn. So I've been knitting the hats out of our yarn and taking swatch photos off of that and then donating them to Operation Chemo Comfort, which I do plan on doing. But I'm also left with just under half a ball usually, like 45 to 47 grams, which wouldn't be enough to do another hat exactly to the same length. I guess I could shorten them. But I also had this idea of, let's knit a flat swatch, and I almost want to do like a carpet book, like a carpet sample book in our booth eventually of the majority of our colorways, so you can flip through and see how they actually knit up into a flat swatch. So I started with this month's colorway, or this previous month's colorway of the month, King Max. And so I decided, I was like, I'm using my worsted weight. I'm going to use a size 7 needle. And I just decided 50 stitches wide, add 3 stitches of garter on each side. Let's cast on 56. And so I started knitting, and it came out to be about 11 inches wide. So then I knit it for 11 inches tall. And the other thing I'm thinking of is this would be really excellent to put together, either, you know, seam or crochet these blocks together to make a blanket eventually. So whether, I hope not, and I don't foresee it, but if, you know, Leading Men Fiber Arts ever decides to end, which I hope not because it's my job, or we discontinue colors, I can take those swatches out of, you know, the lineup and just seam them together. So this is King Max, and as you can see, I've labeled it because I'll be taking this to Texas with me so people can see how it knits up. And what I'm going to do is in the corner here, I'm just going to put like a binder ring, and then they can lay it on the table and people can flip through, and I'll have them in alphabetical order, or I can hang them off a grid wall and people can flip through. And you know, eventually I'll have a couple binder rings full of swatches. Or what I've also thought is to do double, which I might do double rings, and then you can kind of just flip up and back down. Another one that I've done, I haven't put the label on it yet, but it will be coming with me to Texas, and this makes me want to knit a sweater out of this colorway, which I probably will be doing sooner rather than later, maybe. This is Independent Will, which was our June colorway, and I just love how it shows off the different dye techniques as well. This is what I'd call a traditional speckled dye technique, whereas I call this my massaged speckled, because that's literally what I do is I speckle and then massage the yarn to kind of get this more mottled speckled effect. So, and as you can see, for the most part, they're pretty much the same size. So I'm working on another one here. And for the next few, you're going to see ones that I've already knit into hats because I'm going back and knitting up those scraps. But this one is I'll Meet You by the Mistletoe. And as you can see, they don't look as pretty before they're blocked, right? So blocking does wonders even on flat swatches. So there's that. And I have one of these going at all times, and I'm excited to kind of have that flip book that I can be like, hey, you wonder, you know, what it's going to look like knit up? Here, let me show you. And because you can have, we have a ton of samples in our booth, but you can't have samples of everything unless you have a flip book of swatches. So it's going to take work. I understand that. And, but I enjoy it. So there's that. All right, next up that I've been working on is my grandma's favorite microfiber blanket. And this is knit out of Bernat Baby Blanket in the Little Sandcastles colorway on a size 11 US, which is an 8mm needle. Now, I had grand plans of just following the grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern where I had 4 balls of the yarn. I was going to increase for 2 and decrease for 2. But that was going to give me a perfectly square blanket, and I felt like I wanted one that was more rectangle. That's what I wanted. I thought in my head, if I stopped decreasing and just kept the eyelets up the side and did knit 2 togethers inside the eyelets, that would keep the same number of stitches, but it's not going to keep the shape when you start at the bottom point. So what I'm getting, instead of bottom point and then straight up, well, instead of bottom point and then just keeping going to like a flat rectangle, I'm getting point and then it's veering and it's becoming almost like a rhombus. Which at first I was like, I don't want to rip back. And then I was like, you know what? I told Andy, he's like, so what? He's like, we're going to lay under it. The dogs are going to use it. Who cares? And I said, you know what? Who does care? Not me. And you know what? It's going to point. It's going to come to a point at the bottom and the top. And the point's going to cover my feet. And the top can kind of come up. I'm not going to wear it up to my neck anyway. So here's where we're at. I'm into, I don't know, maybe not even 2 balls in, so halfway. And so you can see over here, this is kind of where the point goes. Starts the same. And so right now, there's too much on the needles to show you. But now it's kind of going this way, and there's the point all the way down the bottom. But I can tell you that this is a very soft blanket. It's got a lot of attention from my sister and my mom. And I said, my mom doesn't show a lot of interest in things. And I was like, too bad, Mom. You can use it when you're over here because it's going to stay with me. So right now, covering my feet, it comes up just to my waist on the floor. So it'll be a decent-sized blanket, which is what I wanted. So, and it's not going to get any wider than what it is right now. I think this is a good width. So there's that, and that's what I've been working on with that. I've been working on that, if I have a few minutes during the day while I'm dyeing stuff, or if we sit downstairs and watch TV or a movie, that's pretty much what I work on. All right. The last thing I want to show you is a new cast on, and it's also stash enhancement. So I'm just going to cover this part of stash enhancement right now. But my local yarn store had, mentioned to a customer, she's like, oh, there's new style yarns in the back. She has a wholesale room. So I went back there just perusing because she was busy. Was knitting, but open knitting, but she was busy with customers, which is great. So I was just kind of like, I'm going to wander back there. And I saw this line of Barocco vintage colors. And this color kind of drew me in, and I said, oh, it'd be really nice to do a basic stockinette sweater and let the colors do the speaking. And there was just enough yarn to fit a sweater my size. So this is the color 5220, which is Cafe Latte. And it's lovely shades of brown. Because, I love my neutrals. So I picked up 8 skeins of that, and I started, I had bought a pattern online that was in my queue for a man's sweater. Pretty simple, but it was bottom up. I did not want to do something in pieces. I think me knitting sweaters in pieces is over. I think that's why it takes me 9 months to get through a sweater, is I lose steam with pieces. And it's hard to measure, it's hard to try on. So this sweater that I originally bought was bottom up. But what I was worried about was, because it's a variegated yarn, I was worried about pooling and flashing. And I was also worried because it was a V-neck sweater, you then started to do each side differently, and I was afraid of how that would react to the variegated. So I bought that pattern, but then I decided to go with Flax by Tin Can Knits, which is a free pattern. I think I'm going to be knitting a bunch of Tin Can Knits patterns. There's a few that I want that are top-down raglan sweaters. So you just start and you increase, then you put the sleeves on waist yarn and you knit the body, go back and do the sleeves. And the difference with the Flax is that it has a garter panel down the arm. And originally I wasn't going to do that. I was like, that's simple enough to just knit it all the time rather than do the garter panel. But then I decided for the first one, and because it's variegated, I was going to do the garter panel. Just follow the pattern, and then I can do another one, just a plain sweater with no garter panel. It's easily modified on this pattern. So the other thing that I decided to do, and this is living in my Bags by Awesome Granny bag that she generously gave me to review a while back. And it's got fall leaves. Come on, I had to bring it out for the fall, especially with the color sweater and everything. What I decided to do was to treat this almost like a hand-dyed yarn because it is variegated, and I'm alternating every row in the hopes to split up any color pooling or things of that nature. So, and I think it's working pretty well. So I worked on this at Knitting yesterday, I worked on it this morning for a while, and it's hard to see. I put this on a longer cable, but I still think a 32 inch is not long enough yet because it's got the sleeves on it. So you can see there how it's splitting up, and you can see the sleeve cap here has the garter panel going down it. And the nice thing about this, because it's so simple, the front can be the back and the back can be the front. There's no shaping, none of that fancy stuff. I don't need that. The other thing that I was a little worried about was I'm in between 2 sizes. It suggests for a men's sweater to have about 2 inches positive ease. Well, I measured myself, and somehow my chest and my stomach, which comes out past my chest, didn't make sense. Maybe it's my natural waistline. I don't know. I was about at a 47. I don't know. I'm a big boy. And the extra large was right at a 47. And what I was afraid of was it hugging all the lumps and bumps and my stomach, and I didn't want that. I like things a little bit bigger. So the next size up was a 51. So this one may be a big, comfy sweater. So we'll see. But what I've decided is this is, especially on clearance yarn that's not hand-dyed, pretty inexpensive for the sweater. The sweater was going to run me about $55, which is not bad for a hand-knit sweater. And that's if I use all the yarn. What I've decided is if it's too big, I'll know that then for the next time I knit this, I could go down needle sizes, because this is on a 6 and an 8. I can go down to a 5 and a 7 and use DK weight at the 51 inch. And that should probably bring it in a little bit so that it's not so big. Or, you know, maybe I'll try the worsted at the 47 again and see how that works if I know it's too big. But either way, I'm excited about it. I'm really liking the way that it's knitting up. And I love that it's one piece. It's seamless. I'm super excited about that. I think I've only done a seamless sweater once or twice, and I enjoyed them. It's just so hard to find a men's sweater pattern that is seamless. So, luckily the flax is unisex. There's also the flax light, which is a fingering weight sweater, which is probably going to be more suited for me because while a worsted weight sweater goes much quicker, and this is going to give me the confidence back in sweater knitting, it's going to be very warm to the point that I don't need to wear a jacket when I go out in the January cold temperatures because this is enough for me. So what I am excited about is I was worried about I have a big head, and I was worried about the head opening, but my head fits right through, and it doesn't come down too low. Too many of the sweaters that I've knit, pullovers, the neckline is too large, and I'm hoping that this will fit a little bit better. Anyway, can you tell that I'm excited about this sweater? After the Rogers S cardigan debacle and not fitting and taking 9 months, I was a little disheartened, but this is hopefully bringing back some good sweater mojo, and I'm going to go with it. All I want to do is work on this, but I feel like I need to give everything else some love, or those will go to the wayside, and we don't want that. There's got to be some variety, right? But this is definitely going with me on my trip. I'm going to need to ball up a couple more skeins of yarn before we leave. All right, what's next? Let's talk about what's in rehearsal. For me, in October, there's going to be several mystery knit-alongs coming up that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But one of them is the Knit Pearl Hunter mystery knit-along. And my local yarn store has brought in the yarn and the accessories needed for it. And so I've decided it's kind of an unofficial knit-along that we're going to do, so I've decided to join that. So I've bought some of the yarn needed. It needs 2 skeins. I only bought 1. It also needs 4 buttons, and she got in, Kelly, the owner, got in the Skacel buttons that are needed for it. You could use any buttons that are the right size, but I did buy those buttons, and I meant to bring one over to show you. They're nice buttons, and we were talking about them at midnight on Tuesday, and I guess they're water buffalo. My first time using those, as far as I know. So that's what's going to be coming up in October for me, is that mystery knit-along. So let's talk about behind the scenes. What am I spinning? I don't have anything to show you. I just finished spinning the singles of the Fiber Nymph Dye Works BFL Silk in the Baroque colorway, so I'm going to start applying that. I will not have that done before we leave in 2 days for Texas, so I'll finish that up when we get back. All right, in the scene shop, what am I working on in the world of other crafts? I'm still doing my cross stitching, and I was talking about it yesterday at Open Knitting. I don't know if you guys remember, if you've been a long-time viewer, I started what's called a 5D diamond painting. You usually get them shipped overseas from China, but basically it almost looks like a needlework canvas where you have symbols and colors for a pattern. And then the one that I got originally had a cover sheet, and you peeled it back, and the surface was sticky. And you took these little diamond beads and you stuck them according to colors, and it kind of made a shimmery, iridescent diamond painting. And I realized very quickly that I didn't have enough time to do everything that I want to do in the world, so that kind of went to the wayside. But I did purchase a new one. Simply for the fact that I was browsing on Amazon, and there was one that was black and white with Big Ben in the background and a bright red double-decker bus in the foreground. And as I've mentioned to you in previous podcasts, Andy's been really getting into Lego, and he's built a double-decker bus, and he is currently working on Big Ben. And so they're going to be kind of a little scene when he gets them set up. So I said, when I get this done in 20 years, this diamond painting, we can hang it up in the background and kind of mimic the scene. So that's the only reason why I got it, or justified it to myself. But anyway, so I'm still working on a Dimensions kit. in the world of cross stitch, and it's called Live Life in the Moment, or it's called In the Moment, but it says Live Life in the Moment. And I've made some good progress. I tell you, my stitching stand that I mentioned to you from Clems and Clems, out of California, that I picked up at the Michigan Fiber Festival, has revolutionized my cross stitching. Has it ramped up production immensely? No, but I go much quicker, and I enjoy cross stitching a lot more, which is important because now I can two-hand stitch. So I have my left hand underneath the canvas or underneath the fabric and my right hand on top. So I've been working on the word the, and you can see there the progress that I've made. So I'm enjoying that. And it's going pretty well. So, and I took this off the Q-snap again for you this week. It's like a ordeal to get that thing off and on, but I want to show you the whole picture as it comes alive. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on in the world of cross stitch. All right, let's talk about what we're watching and reading. A few shows that I'm still watching on TV are The Strain on FX. Also on FX to premiere this week was American Horror Story Cult. I had actually forgotten. It kind of came out of nowhere. I saw a few previews, so I got caught up with it. The season is different. It just has a different feel to me. There's not a whole lot of returning cast members, and it's very politically charged, which I understand. So I'm interested to see where it goes. So we'll leave it at that. Also, we're watching House of Cards. We've watched a few more episodes. I think we have maybe 3 more episodes in season 5. So I enjoy that. If you have Netflix and you've not watched House of Cards, I really enjoy that show. We like sitting down and watching that. I did finish a book, listening to a book called Dust and Decay. It is book 2, I believe, of the Rotten Ruin trilogy or series. I didn't actually watch or listen to the first one. I had seen it in our school's library, and I knew it was popular young adult fiction. And then there was a sale on Audible, and I assumed it was the first one, but it was not. It was the second. Not that you really needed to read the first one. They gave you enough preface to kind of knew what had happened. I thought it was meh, to be honest. I think I gave it like about 2 stars. It just didn't do much for me. And the new book I'm reading or listening to is not living up to my standards either, so, but I'll finish it because, I don't know, it's somewhat interesting. There's just, the writing is a bit much. And I've read this author before. It's a Dean Koontz book. And he can usually verge on that a little bit too much area, but then he knows how to reel it back, and he's not doing that so much with this book. So, anyway, let's talk about stash enhancement. I showed you the Barocco vintage colors. I talked about the buttons that are over there that I forgot to pick up. But the yarn that I'm going to be using for this Knit Pearl Hunter Mystery Knit Along is a new yarn by Skacel, and specifically their Haiku brand, and this is called Oh with an exclamation point. And this color is color 149, which is Oh Wow. So it's a bright chartreuse green, and I don't know if I'll really wear this color, but I knit to knit, so I need to pick up another skein of this eventually after we get back from Texas. But it's 100% baby alpaca, super baby alpaca, and you get 191 yards to 100 grams, so it's about an aran weight. And we know from the information that Michelle Hunter has given that it's going to be a cabled cowl that you can then button up into an infinity cowl. So I'm excited to see where this goes. So that I picked up from my local yarn store as well. That's it. It seems like I always have some sort of stash enhancement. I did pick up also a 12-inch Addi Turbo size 8 for the sleeves on my sweater for when I get there. I had a 12-inch size 6, or my needle inventory says I do. So I picked up a size 8. Sorry, I'm not used to talking this much anymore. That's why I'm getting a little parched. All right, this week's giveaway. So I've been doing kind of a giveaway every episode, and this week we are going to be giving away 2 skeins of sugar and cream. And so this is sugar and cream, 100% U.S. grown cotton. You get 2 ounces or 95 meters, and so you get a total of, 190 yards of the psychedelic colorway. So whoever the lucky winner of this is going to be will get both skeins. And this was generously donated by an anonymous viewer who is our fairy yarn mother. And so very generous, so thank you to her. And so the giveaway this week, you must be a member of our group, and you're going to need to post a response in the giveaway thread. And the prompt this week is, who is the most famous person you've ever met? And I was trying to think of my answer to this, and I'm sure there's like somebody huge that I am forgetting. But I feel like there's somebody that I can't think of. The only thing I can think of is Gary Cole, who was in Office Space. He was at a production at MI University, and to be honest with you, I didn't even know he was there. I didn't really know who he was. I ended up going to the bathroom at the same time as him, and we kind of like walked out together, and they're like, oh, do you know? So I don't even know if that really counts. I didn't really meet him. The only other person that I have met that's kind of famous now is Philippa Sue. She was the original Eliza in the Broadway version of Hamilton, and when I was in college, I did some mentoring and chaperoning for the Illinois State All-State Production High School production for the Illinois Theater Association, and she was in 2 productions that I chaperoned, so I kind of chaperoned her when she was in high school, and she's gone on. She was the leading role in Amelie, which closed recently, so that's kind of the biggest names there, but nothing really exciting for me. So I'd be interested to know who you've met. All right, so let's go into a round of applause. We had our featured designer knit-along come to a close, and so we did a knit-along for two or 3 months, where you can knit anything from our past featured designers. We have wonderful designers who agree to be featured on our podcast and donate their patterns to viewers of the podcast, and so we wanted to kind of give back, and last year we started our annual featured designer knit-along, where you can knit anything from those featured designers to be entered for prizes. And so we had 38 entries in this year's knit-along, and so I used a random number generator to pick a winner, and it picked for me number 26, who is Lace Wing on Heather, and that's Heather from Maine, and she knit an awesome hat by Megan Sanders. And so what you're going to win, Heather, is a skein of Baby Alpaca Grande hand-dyed by Plymouth Yarn, and this is 100% baby alpaca. It is a bulky weight. It is 110 yards to 100 grams in color 141. If for some reason, Heather, you have a huge aversion to alpaca, just let me know when you email me Dramatic Knits on Ravelry with your shipping address, and we can work something else out, and I'll see what else I can pull from our prize bins. So congratulations, Heather, and thank you everyone who participated in the knit-along. We do not have a current knit-along going other than the hat drive, so that's kind of what's, I think, going to be going until probably November. All right, last episode, our giveaway was for the book Farmhouse Knits. Sorry, I've got too much stuff all over the place. Farmhouse Knits, which we kind of flipped through really quickly. The prompt last week was, let me flip my show notes here. If you could start any business, what would it be? And the winner, according to Random Number Generator, was number 33, who is Kitten Whiplash. She did not have a name or location. So congratulations to Kitten Whiplash. And here's her response. She said, I've never really wanted to start my own business. My interests are too mercurial to be in charge of a company that others depend on. I guess being a freelance consulting ruler of the universe might be fun. At least it sounds like I could just stick my nose into anything I wanted at any time I wanted. Then she goes on to say, my mom always wanted to have a hot dog cart, but she would have been her own best customer if she had. They're still her fave food at 91 years young. So congratulations to Kitten Whiplash, and thank you for sharing that little gem of information. I really appreciate it. Yours was probably one of the more entertaining ones, but I love seeing everybody's responses to that. So please get in contact with me, Dramatic Knits on Ravelry. Give me your shipping address so I can get the book out in the mail to you, and we'll get that out as soon as we can. Again, I'm going to be gone for about a week, so it may be a little bit longer of a response time if you get back to me super quick. All right, August came to a close, so our August 2017 Race to the Finished Object contest has come to a close. We have 2 prizes to give away. The first is the book Knit Scarves and Shawls Now. So this has a lovely array of, well, scarves and shawls. The winner for this was number 97, who is Phoenix Fire, and that's Tracy from North Carolina. So congratulations, Tracy. Please send me your mailing address so I can get this in the mail to you. And then the second prize is a pattern from August's featured designer, who is Barbara Benson. And the winner for that was number 280, which is Stepha Johnson, and that's Stephanie from Minneapolis. And she did a Crazy Heart sweater. And by the way, Tracy did a tree monster, which was super cute. But the Crazy Heart sweater was awesome as well. So, Stephanie, would you please take a look at Barbara Benson's patterns? We have her pattern page linked on our show notes at dramaticknits.com. Let me know which one of her giftable patterns. It cannot be from one of her published books. It has to be a self-published pattern on Ravelry that she can gift to you. Let me know what pattern you would like, and I will let Barbara know and she'll gift it to you. So, the September Race to the Finished Object thread is open, so you can start posting whatever you finish this month in that thread. We'll have 2 prizes again, something from our prize pool, as well as a pattern from this month's featured designer, who is Christopher Salas. So Christopher just came out with a brand new pattern featuring Leading Men Fiber Arts, so you can check that out. Yeah, there may be some new patterns coming out in the future that we're collaborating on. Okay, let me take one more drink, and then we're going to move into center stage. But I have a lot to talk about in center stage, so you're not going to want to press that pause or stop button. But if you do, and you just stuck around for me drinking, I don't blame you. But we'll see you in a couple of weeks, in about 2 weeks. So, before I go into events, I do want to talk about some things that are in the shop that are specialty items as of right now. And so the first one is the Scarf of Dreams pre-orders. So we had the pleasure of meeting designer Heidi Gustad out of Chicago a couple of years ago at our first stitches. And we gave her some yarn support. She was marinating over it for some time, and she's finally, we knew what the plan was, but she's finally ready to release it, and it is called the Scarf of Dreams, and it is going to be a mystery knit-along, but it's also a knit-along, read-along. So it's designed and inspired by The Night Circus, which is a young adult fiction book. And it, as you are knitting on, it's an infinity cowl. She lets you know that. As you're knitting on it, each piece kind of represents a part of the book. So she used the skein of our soliloquy base, which is 150 grams of superwash BFL. You get 657 yards in the skein, and you use about 120 of the 150 yards in the cowl. So you need over 100 gram skein. So she wanted to work together to kind of release the pattern and the yarn together. And since it only takes one skein, I didn't see the point in doing a kit. But what we're doing is pre-orders for the yarn. So I asked Heidi to pick 5 of our colors that she thought would really highlight the pattern. And so she did. And so we have pre-orders up for the yarn now. And they'll be up through the 20th. And the knit-along does not start until the 2nd of October. So you will get your yarn within the time frame needed to start the knit-along. So some colors that she chose, she did the original design in Poison Apple. Another color she chose is Green Gables. Blue Steel was another one. Sunny Side Up and London Fog. So these are the 5 semi-solid colors that she chose that I thought would really highlight and accent the pattern well. So you can choose which color you want as your cowl. And I believe it'll be coming out in about 4 or 5 clues. She has all of her information on her Ravelry group, and it is Hands Occupied is her design name, so you can search that up. She also has a blog, so just Google search Hands Occupied, and it'll have all the information there. She's also got some prizes to give away with Knit Along and fun things like that, so definitely check that out. And I have the pattern linked to in our listing for the yarn. You do need to purchase the pattern separately from our yarn. It does not come with the yarn. You have to purchase that separately on Ravelry. All right, another mystery knit along coming out just 2 days after Heidi's is designed by Stephanie Lotvin, who is Telly Bean Knits, and we've worked with her in the past. And she is doing a Day of the Dead mitten mystery knit along. Excuse me. And that pattern is going to be released on September 11th, tomorrow. But the first clue will not come out till October 4th. So we have given her yarn support for these mittens, and I'm so excited for them. And we're going to have a limited number, 24 to be exact, kits that will be in the shop starting tomorrow. So the kit comes with one mini skein pack of our Showstopper minis. So these are 92 yards each for a total of 460 yards. And you got Prom Queen, Glow Stick, Nude Scene, Electric Avenue, and Safety Dance. So very neon-esque. And they come with, as well, besides the mini skein pack, you get 2 skeins of Showstopper Intermission, which is our 50-gram skeins, 231 yards. So it's all the same base, just different put-ups. You get Darkest Hour, excuse me, as well as Punk Rock Highlights. So very bright, very colorful, and that's what comes with the kit. I believe these are going to retail for $55, if I'm not mistaken, $54 or $55. I gotta do the math again for the kit. Again, the pattern does not come with the kit. It's rare that we do that, but because she's kind of launching it on her own, we're just kind of providing the support for it so that you can knit along with us. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. Again, limited number. There will not be pre-orders after that. Once they're gone, they're gone. 24, that's it. So, all right. So those are what's new. Next time we record, I'll be able to show you, hopefully, I'll have it dyed up, October's colorway of the month. I have a few options in mind, so it's just narrowing it down and actually getting them dyed up and then knit up so I can swatch it. So let's talk events before I show you what's been updated to the shop this past 2 weeks. All right, Tuesday afternoon, we are leaving and driving over 11 hours to Irving, Texas, which is right outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Stitches, Texas is next weekend. Market preview is on Thursday night. The market is open to the public on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 10 to 6 on Friday and Saturday, 10 to 4 on Sunday. And if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Ravelry, I have posted a coupon card that you can print off to get $3 off admission into the market. That being said, due to Hurricane Harvey, which had hit Texas and Louisiana, Stitches and a bunch of vendors and teachers and sponsors have come together because we wanted to give back to the area. And so what we've decided is there's a whole page on the Stitches website for Texas called We Care, and there are a multitude of things that people are doing, but over 30 of the vendors have agreed to donate 5% of their sales over the weekend to a generous charity, which is a local food bank down in the Houston area. And Leading Men Fiber Arts is honored to sign on to do that. So Andy and I really wanted to do something beforehand, and we were talking about it the day prior to when a group from Stitches had reached out to us. And so the vendors are doing that. Stitches themselves are donating 50% of their ticket admissions to the relief effort as well. And I know some of the teachers are donating Afghan squares and completed Afghans to Warm Up America, which is also going to be at the market and collecting squares in order to make Afghans for those who have been affected by Hurricane Harvey. So I do hope that if you're in the area, you can stop by. Just know that the money that you spend there will be also going back to Texas. So I'm excited for that. The weekend after Stitches Texas, on Saturday, September 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Andy and I will be in Noblesville, Indiana, at the Black Sheep Yarn and Fiber yarn store. We'll be doing a trunk show there again from 10 to 4, so you can kind of see a smattering of our yarns there. We're excited that the ladies there invited us to do a trunk show, so come on out if you're in the Indianapolis area. Come on out and see me. So Andy, he'll be there all day too. Maybe reading his Kindle. Who knows? Maybe he'll bring Legos. And then the following weekend, I know we'll be traveling a lot, I am going to be going up to Northern Michigan, in West Branch, Michigan, for the Northern Michigan Lamb and Wool Festival. That is September 30th and October 1st. So if you're up in Northern Michigan, I hope that you can stop by there. I believe my sister is going to be joining me to help me in that event as well. So that's kind of what's coming up on the calendar. And then there's quite a few things in October and November and December, and as of right now, I get January off. But I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, so let's talk about what's been updated to the shop. First off, let me show you. I know don't think I've ever shown one of these on the podcast, and we do actually have one in the shop right now. This is a ground pepper sweater kit, and I just watched the latest episode of Stockinette Zombies where Megan's knitting on her ground pepper. Hers has a gradient background as well. Most of the ones we do are just the gradiated speckles by themselves. Sometimes Andy will do a gradient background as well. But this one is in, I believe, the Drama Queen, or no, the Electric Violet speckles. So it's a sport weight V-neck sweater, which looks like that. And yeah, so you get 5 skeins. The original pattern's designed out of 4, so you'll have to do a little bit of math or check the project pages out of those who have done this out of our yarn. I know our sample knitter left some good notes about what she did to modify, or change the measurements of when she switched the yarn. So I will say though that gradients, mini skeins, kits, project bags, all those will be taken down out of the shop while we're in Texas, because those will be going with us. So if this is not purchased by Tuesday, when I take stuff out of the shop, it'll be going with us to Texas. Don't worry though, if you're going to Texas, I have over 20 sweater kits. And those will be then coming back and going into the shop when we come back. Some new mini skein packs. We have a Spotlight mini skein pack and a Show Stealer mini skein pack. We have a new project bag from the Anne at the Silver Shed USA. I call this one, They're Just So Fluffy! So I have these in medium, no extra large in those currently. Some new gradients on Diva, which is our merino silk base. We have Eternal Kiss. And then on Soliloquy, which is the 100% VFL, we have Seduction. Yarn that's been updated, we have a skein of Darkest Hour on Intermission. We have a skein of Steve and Andy on Box Office. And we have a skein of Purple Rain on Showstopper. So, that's what's up in the shop. So you can check out the shop at leadingmenfiberarts.bigcartel.com. Best way to follow us is Instagram, Facebook, or Ravelry, all Leading Men Fiber Arts there. You can find the show at dramaticknits.com, or you can subscribe to us on YouTube and or iTunes. We'd love comments, ratings, things of that nature there. And until I see you again in about 2 weeks after we're done with the trunk show, to be the day after that, I'll be able to tell you about Texas and Indiana. I'll leave you with, I hope you knit something dramatic.